Sawate omnes, today we will be learning from chapter 21 of Wheelock, which includes the third and fourth conjugations in the passive. You'll remember from chapter 18, in the passive voice, the action of the sentences or clauses verb is not performed by the subject, but is done to the subject. Passive verbs are often accompanied by an ablative of agent, which tells who is actually doing the action of the verb. As a review, the passive personal endings are in the first person. In the first person singular, ris in the second person singular, tor in the third person singular, mer in the first person plural, mini in the second person plural, and intor in the third person plural. The process of forming third and fourth conjugation verbs in the passive is very similar to that of the first and second conjugation. Substitute the passive endings for the active endings. The only exceptions to this rule are the second person singular present tense in the third conjugation and the passive infinitive in the third conjugation. Let's look at the example of ago agere. In the present passive, the forms are as follows. Agor in the first person singular, ageris in the second person singular. Note the change from I to E. Agitor in the third person singular, agimer in the first person plural, agimini in the second person plural, and aguntor in the third person plural. You'll notice that the pattern of vowels follows the present active, except that E in the second person singular. The fourth conjugation uses the stem vowel of long I, and keeps the I in the first person singular and third person plural. Let's look at the example of audio audire. Its first person singular is audior, its second person singular is audiris, the third person singular is auditor, the first person plural is audimor, the second person plural is audimini, and the third person plural is audiuntor. Conjugating the third and fourth declensions in the future passive is also very similar to the present passive. They use the long E before the ending instead of the infix bo, bi, bu, except, of course, the first person singular, where the vowel is A. In the example of ago, the first person singular would be agar, the second person singular would be ageris, the third person singular would be agator, the first person plural would be agamor, the second person plural would be agamini, and the third person plural would be agentor. Be careful not to confuse the second person singular present and the future third conjugation forms, which are distinguished only by the length of the vowel. Present ageris is short, while the future ageris is long. In the fourth conjugation, this is the same, only the stem keeps its I stem vowel. Therefore, the first person singular would be audiar, the second person singular would be audieris, the third person singular would be audiator, the first person plural is audiamor, the second person plural is audamini, and the third person plural is audientor. Just as in the active voice, the passive voice of the third and fourth conjugations uses the infix ba between the stem vowel and the ending. Just as with the future, the imperfect passive of the fourth conjugation keeps the I and long E before the infix. The imperfect passive of ago, agere, is therefore agebar in the first person singular, agebaris in the second person singular, agebator in the third person singular, agebamor in the first person plural, agebamini in the second person plural, and agebantor in the third person plural. The imperfect passive of audio audire is audiebar in the first person singular, audiebaris in the second person singular, audiebantor in the third person singular, audiebamor in the first person plural, audiebamini in the second person plural, and audiebantor in the third person plural. Now let's take a quick look at the differences in conjugation between the third IO verbs. In the present passive, these verbs follow the third conjugation, except the I is kept in the first person singular and third person singular. In the future and imperfect, it follows the fourth conjugation exactly. You can see an example of this on your screen with the verb capio capere. The fourth conjugation forms its passive infinitive just like the first and second conjugations. Just take the E off the end of the active infinitive and replace it with a long I. However, the passive infinitive is irregular in the third conjugation. For these verbs, remove the ere and replace it with the long I. In our example of ago agere, the passive infinitive would be agi. In our example of capio capere, the passive infinitive would be capi. While in our example of audio audire, the passive infinitive would be audiri. No culture for this chapter as well. Be sure to get your forum posts in by Friday night, your quizzes completed by Saturday night, and your worksheets and optional extra credit by Sunday night. Volete omnes.